What if narcissism doesn't always look like confidence? What if sometimes it looks like insecurity? When people hear the word narcissist, they imagine someone arrogant, loud, dominant, self-obsessed. But psychology shows something more complex. There are two main forms of narcissism, and one of them is much harder to recognize: grandiose narcissism and vulnerable narcissism. Let's start with the obvious one. Grandiose narcissism, this is what most people think of. Confidence, charisma, dominance. These individuals often appear successful, decisive, attractive in social settings. They like attention, they seek admiration, they believe they are exceptional. But underneath that, there is something else, a fragile self-image that needs constant validation. And when that validation is threatened, they react with anger, with defensiveness, with devaluation of others. Now let's look at the second type, vulnerable narcissism. This one is quieter, less obvious, but often just as destructive. Instead of confidence, you see sensitivity, insecurity, emotional reactivity. These individuals often feel misunderstood, undervalued, unappreciated. They may appear introverted, even fragile, but the core dynamic is the same. Everything revolves around the self. They still seek validation, but instead of demanding it openly, they seek it indirectly, through guilt, through emotional pressure, through subtle manipulation. Now here's where it becomes important. Both types share key traits: low empathy, high self-focus, need for validation, difficulty with criticism, but they express them differently. Grandiose narcissists move outward. Vulnerable narcissists move inward. One dominates, the other withdraws. But both create instability in relationships. Now let's talk about how this looks in real life. With a grandiose narcissist, at the beginning, you feel impressed, drawn in. They are confident, engaging, they make strong impressions, but over time, you may feel controlled, criticized, or devalued. With a vulnerable narcissist, at the beginning, you may feel needed, important. You want to support them, understand them, be there for them. But over time, you may feel emotionally drained, guilty, responsible for their state. Both types struggle with self-regulation. They depend on others to regulate their internal state. That's why relationships with narcissistic individuals often feel intense. Because you are not just a partner, you are a source of validation. Their sense of self is not internally stable, so it depends on external feedback. Now let's bring in Jung. Jung spoke about the persona, the mask we show to the world. In narcissism, the persona becomes inflated, overdeveloped, and the true self remains underdeveloped. So what you see is not the whole person, it's the mask. And when the mask is challenged, the system destabilizes. Now here's the most important question. How do you recognize narcissism early? Not by confidence, not by insecurity, but by patterns. How do they react to criticism? How do they handle boundaries? How do they respond when they are not the center of attention? That's where the truth appears. So how do you protect yourself? First, don't confuse intensity with connection. Second, don't take responsibility for someone else's emotional regulation. Third, set clear boundaries and observe how they respond. Fourth, don't try to fix them, because narcissistic patterns are not solved through understanding alone. And finally, recognize this. Narcissism is not just confidence, and it's not just insecurity. It's a pattern where the self becomes the center of everything, and if you're not careful, you become part of that system. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and trust the patterns you see.